Good day, my friends. My name is Sir Review. Today I am doing my top 10 best video games list. Now, for those of you who are unaware of my channel, I review movies, I do gameplay of some games, and before I get to any of that kind of stuff, though, I want to have you get to know me a little better. So I'm going to do like a top 10 best and worst list of like movies and games and other kinds of stuff like that. And I've recently made my top 10 best movies list. So for those of you who haven't seen that, you can watch that and see and let me know of any other kinds of like movies you want me to review. And I also will be doing a couple of questions and answers, videos for those of you who want to ask me some questions about myself, and I will answer some of them. And I will also be doing some more reviews with my friends Caleb and Alex. Caleb has his own review channel if you guys don't know about it. And he is a great person. He's one of my best friends, and I want his channel to, get more subscribers. So, in addition to subscribing to my channel, obviously, you can subscribe to his. But for now, we are going to get to my list. And I might glance down a couple of times because I have a bad memory, and I might have to look down a couple of times at my list. So here we go. Now, my number 10 favorite game is Mortal Kombat 9. Now, Mortal Kombat is one of those kinds of games where I just have fun playing it in general. I'm not in it for the story or for any kind of multiplayer or anything like that. I just do it just to see all the guts and gore, because I actually kind of like that kind of stuff. And now many people will probably be like, well, Mortal Kombat X is superior, it has better graphics, the characters look cooler. I'm like, that's true, but I just think Mortal Kombat 9 is the superior game because its atmosphere is a little more, breathtaking because of how well the characters are put together. Now, it's been a while since I played it, so I don't fully remember how the campaign, the single player went. But I remember it was pretty good, and like the gameplay itself is just fun. I mean, every character you get to be has its own unique kind of style of fighting. That's just what Mortal Kombat is, and I think Mortal Kombat 9 has definitely earned its spot onto my top 10 list. My 9th favorite game, and I'm pretty sure many of you know about it and love this game too, is Skyrim. I just love Skyrim. It is so fun. I mean, it's one of the everyone says, and I agree, and it's been awarded as one of the best open world games ever, if not the best open world game ever, and I have to agree with that pretty much 100%. It is possibly the best open world game I've played ever. It is super fun. The villages you get to go to are full of, awesome things that you can find. You get to find incredible creatures, incredible treasures. The exploration is fun, and I sometimes just play just to sit there and just look at the scenery and how fun it is to just witness all of that. So, my number 8th favorite game is, well, for those of you who aren't aware, I love Batman because, Batman is my favorite superhero of all time. I love Batman. And of course, I can't have a top 10 favorite games list without having some sort of superhero game in there, but it's a video game of my favorite superhero, Batman, and it's Batman Arkham City. Now, not many good superhero games were released when they first got popular. They were like, we had a couple of good ones like Spider-Man 2 video game, and even Superman Returns to video game was a kind of entertaining. But none of them were all that impressive until Batman Arkham Asylum that came out. Now that one's a fun game. It didn't quite make it onto my list because it just didn't have enough to make it. But it was really fun. Many people were astonished by it. And when Batman Arkham City came along, everyone was excited. And they had the right to be excited because it is just an incredible game. And the world, the map itself is really fun. You get to explore Arkham City and the criminals that live in it. You get to do side missions and take down other criminals. You get to collect Riddler trophies. You get to do these cool little mystery puzzles that Riddler leaves out for you. It is super fun, and I'm not going to get into any spoilers with these games when it comes to the single player campaign. But the single player mode in this, the story was really fun. It really made you just sit on the edge of your seats thinking, what's going to happen here? I mean, this is one that really gets you wondering what's going to happen. So it definitely earned its spot on my list. Number 7 is another Batman game, and that's Batman Arkham Knight. And that's the one that recently came out. I think it came out I think it was last year. Don't fully remember, but many people were just astonished by how incredible it looks. When the trailers came out, it looked so incredible with the graphics. But I don't just play for the graphics. It's the only Batman game that's rated M, and that's because of how dark it is. The other Arkham games were pretty dark, but this one had like a much darker atmosphere. The story was it was super disturbing. I mean, the language was kind of over the top in this one, but that's not what made it rated M. It was just how dark it is, how, gritty everything looks. Everything looks so just disturbed and just, run down. Even the buildings themselves looked so abandoned and just scary because of all the fear gas that was going to be released. Now, I'm not going to spoil too much about the story, but of course, Scarecrow looks so cool, because if you were unaware, in Arkham Asylum, he did get a beat down by, I'm not going to say who, but he did get a beat down, and his face is all torn up in this one. He is, back for revenge with a bunch of other criminals, and you get a visit from a recent deceased villain, but I'm not going to say who. And it is super fun. I love that game. I love being in the Batmobile, because people have been waiting for the Batmobile to show up, but most of the time they didn't get any vehicles. But this time they did. It is a fun game, and I for one, just think it totally earned its spot on my list. Now, number 6 isn't just one game, it's a series of games, and that is the Uncharted series. Now, I personally think Naughty Dog is just like one of the greatest video game companies ever. They made incredible games like The Last of Us and Uncharted and other games like that. Now, The Last of Us was fun, but it didn't quite make it onto my list, which is kind of disappointing. But the Uncharted series did. And it was all of them, because I can barely even choose a favorite. They were all so good. Now, I will agree, the first one was great, but I think the ones that followed it kind of, brought it to its, brought it to its, how do I describe it? They kind of, rose it up and, made it be like, hey, this game is a really good game. You guys should always, look forward to seeing what's going to happen next. I mean, the first one was fun. I liked it. But the second one, how it opened, how it opened was just incredible. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil too much about the story and all, but the second one just opens up with Nathan Drake, the main character, who is pretty much just this awesome character. He's one of my favorite video game characters of all time. But he's lying there unconscious in a train, bleeding. He wakes up to discover he's in the Himalayas with in a train car that's hanging off of a cliff. There's just train cars everywhere, as if some sort of explosion just happened. And he can't remember what happened, and he starts to have flashbacks of all the stuff that happened before then. It is super fun. I think the second one had the better villain, because that villain was truly dark and truly the right kind of villain that you're looking for in these kinds of games. But if I had to choose a favorite, I would have to go with the fourth one, just because of how it wrapped up the entire franchise. This franchise was so good, it needed a good wrap-up, so they gave us one. That was Uncharted 4: Thief's End. That one was one that you're just like, yes, that's the kind of ending we are looking for in games like this. And they introduced us to a new character who was really cool, and you did not expect him. And it was all just, well done. This franchise was really good. I'm looking forward to see what they do with The Last of Us 2 that they're actually planning on making. I kind of want to see that, because when I saw the reveal trailer for that looked very good with the graphics and all that stuff, and how it kind of left you in suspense of what Ellie was talking about. Now, before I get to my fifth one, let me just remind you guys, games like this kind of game I'm getting ready to bring up aren't always the kinds of games that I fully enjoy, and that is Overwatch. Overwatch is number 5 on my list, and I was actually kind of surprised when I played the game because I was expecting it to be like this kind of goofy. Because it was Blizzard. I mean, they've been known to kind of make these kind of goofy games, but are somewhat fun. But this one was kind of goofy. I mean, they did try to make it look a little more serious than normal. But this one had just this kind of vibe that just made me feel like, wow, this is actually really cool. Now, I was super disappointed when they said that they weren't gonna, you know, give it when they didn't give it a single player campaign. And I was super upset because they even opened with this cool cutscene about with one of the main characters, describing about Overwatch and what happened and all that stuff and the kind of future they live in. And it was super cool. I was looking forward to playing a single player campaign because of just that cutscene alone. But they didn't have one, which was really disappointing. But I still love the game. I still have fun doing the multiplayer stuff. The multiplayer is super fun. All the loot you can collect is fun. The way you can customize the characters you love is super fun. Even the characters themselves are really cool. It was hard for me to choose a favorite between all of these, but I think my favorite is Reaper. He's like this Grim Reaper kind of guy. He's pretty much the ultimate badass of the team. He is super, super fun to play as, and I personally think he's my favorite. And this game has definitely earned its spot as number 5 on my list. Now, number 4 is a horror kind of game, and I don't usually play horror games, especially because they haven't really made a bunch of them that were really good. But this one scared the hell out of me. I mean, this one was just incredible, and it's based off of one of my favorite franchises. And this is in the game is Alien Isolation. Now, Alien Isolation is kind of different than other games like Outlast, because in Outlast it kind of follows a specific kind of pattern. I mean, sure, there are some unpredictable stuff that the AI can do, but the AI in Alien Isolation, the Xenomorph AI, that thing is super unpredictable. It adapts to what you do. If you go into the vents and it will like kind of see you in the vents sometime, it won't let you into the vents because it will wait in there and see if you'll crawl in. And it will like hide in the vents above you if you're running away from like a working Joe. They're androids, I'll get to them in a minute. If you're running away from a working Joe, and then it will drop down, then the Xenomorph will drop down out of the vents and pull you up and kill you. I mean, they're so unpredictable. And one of the best things, and one of the scariest parts of the game is when you hide in the lockers. You can hide in the locker, and it'll eventually sense you in one of the lockers, and it'll kind of like go up to the locker and kind of sniff, and you can actually see it sniffing, and you have to lean back. And there's even a button where you get to hold your breath and just wait for it to leave. It is super scary, and when it catches you in the most startling of ways. It literally made me jump out of my seat so many times. It was so scary. And now there are different kind of modes you get to do. The single player campaign was actually really fun, and I enjoyed playing that. But if you're new to the game, start off with just hiding from a Xenomorph. Okay, it's a lot easier than hiding from both Xenomorphs and Working Joes. The Working Joes are androids who, if they scan you and see you as a threat, they will start to follow you and try to attack you, and they will kill you in a couple of hits. So you have to get away as soon as possible. And the Xenomorphs won't attack the Angry Joes. I said Angry Joe. Oh, I love that YouTuber, by the way. Working Joes. I'm sorry. If the Working Joes start following you, the alien will wait for you and it will attack the Working Joes. I'm sorry if I said Angry Joe. For those of you who love Angry Joe, I love Angry Joe too. He's one of the best YouTubers ever. Okay, now on to my number 3 game, Battlefield 4. Now, Battlefield 4, it's a game that I was really looking forward to. And of course, everyone agrees the beta was a disaster. The beta crash was a big disaster because everyone was looking forward to playing that, and when it crashed, everyone was upset. I was upset, Angry Joe was upset, a lot of other YouTubers were upset about that. And I mean, at first I was thinking, okay, this game is definitely probably going to go on my top 10 worst list. But when I played the actual single player campaign and the online multiplayer, that changed my mind completely because I almost fell in love with that game. I pretty much fell in love with it because the single player campaign was pretty good, but I think I played it. Everyone plays it mostly for the multiplayer because the multiplayer is so fun. The locations are really cool. The graphics are well done. The weapons you get are actually quite impressive, and the vehicles too. And this game really deserved its spot as number 3. Now, number 2 on my list is Battlefront 2. And, for those of you who may not have noticed, I am wearing a X-Wing shirt, and I am a huge Star Wars nerd. A huge Star Wars nerd. I mean, I love Star Wars. Just love it. And Battlefront 2 is definitely in my top 10 movies list. And it has the right to be because of how just it gives you that Star Wars feel that you look for. You're looking for a good Star Wars feel, play Battlefront 2 because of how I mean the Galactic Conquest is so fun. I play with my friends all the time, and it is super fun to just go to these other planets and fight and fight the enemy and just either try to take over the planet or protect the planet. You can even do space battles, which is what Star Wars is. Just Star Wars basically gets its name from space battles. Star Wars, and it is just an incredible game. The single player campaign, I will admit, was pretty good. It wasn't the best, but it was all right. I mean, it was pretty good. So it definitely earned a spot as number 2 on my list, and hopefully EA will make a pretty good will make the next Battlefront 2 a pretty good one to follow up on what the original Battlefront 2 was truly like. Now, before I get to the my favorite game, I'm gonna do some like honorable mentions or like some games that were close to making it onto my list, but didn't quite make it onto my list. Like there are ones like The Last of Us. I mean, I love The Last of Us, and Naughty Dog did a spectacular job on that. I'm really looking forward to see The Last of Us 2 and play that. Other games like Assassin's Creed 3. I love Assassin's Creed 3. I like Assassin's Creed. I mean, I'm not a diehard fan of the gaming of that franchise because there were quite a few of those Assassin's Creed games that were disappointing. The only 2 ones that I think were worth my time were Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag. Those are the only ones that I think are my best ones that I've played. There are other games that I played that were really good too, like Injustice. Injustice was super fun. It was another like superhero based game that was actually done pretty well. And now Call of Duty. I love Call of Duty, guys. Don't get me wrong. They may not have been on my top 10 list because they didn't really, have enough to kind of make it on there. But that doesn't mean I don't love Call of Duty. I actually really like Call of Duty. Especially like Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare. I mean, those ones are actually really fun to play. The single player campaign is great. I love it. But, multiplayer is iffy for me. I mean, I'm okay with playing it. I mean, there are a lot of stuff that I think can be done a lot better in the online multiplayer ones. But still, don't get me wrong, I like Call of Duty. It's just they didn't quite make it onto my list. It just didn't quite have enough to make it. So that's pretty much all the other kinds of games that I love. I mean, I love lots of other games because I play so many good games. And I don't really play a lot of bad games because I just don't think it's worth my time. So that's going to make it kind of hard for me to make my top 10, worst games list when I do. Because I don't really play a lot of bad games. Sure, I've seen a lot of bad movies, and it's going to be quite easy for me to make the top 10 worst movies list. But for now, a lot of the games I played were really good games, and I was looking forward to putting a lot of them on my list, but only several of these made it onto there, and I think they just earned their spot onto it. So now, my number 1 favorite game of all time is Battlefield 1. Now, everyone will agree that Battlefield 1 was done in such a way because we didn't always get these kinds of games in this kind of age. I mean, we would usually get like Call of Duty, like stuff that goes all the way back to the Vietnam War. And I mean, I'm okay with that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm okay with them going back to that time, but I was thinking, why not go back a little farther back in time? And I was waiting for Call of Duty to do like a World War I like sequence or something, but EA beat them to it with Battlefield 1, which takes place in World War One. Now this one is actually really cool because it opens with the game itself opens with saying Battlefield 1 takes place in a time where real soldiers, gave their lives. And it says during the prologue, you are not expected to survive, because it shows of how brutal and how barely anyone made it out of this war alive. Because in the prologue, you're playing as multiple soldiers on, I think it's the British. I can't fully remember, but I'm pretty sure you're on the British side. You get to play as multiple characters, and you are not expected to survive. I mean, this game tries its best in the prologue to kill you and then get you to another character to be. Then there's the single player campaign. That campaign at several scenes made me kind of tear up, and it's super cool because you don't play as just one team on one side. You play on as soldiers on other teams. You get to play as the Germans. You can play as the British, or as the Americans, or as the Ottoman Empire. You get to play as these multiple characters on other teams. There are quite a few scenes that made me get kind of tear up a bit because of how you feel sympathetic for these characters. It makes you realize that there's no hero or villain. There's no good or bad when it comes to this. When it comes to these kinds of wars, at the other end of each barrel is a human being. And that's what they said at the beginning of the game. They said there was a guy who was saying, no matter during war, there is never a hero or a villain. There's no good or bad guy. There's always a human being, and it shows a British guy and it's either a British or a U.S. trooper standing up against a German soldier. They're both pointing their guns at each other because they're the only ones who survived that prologue, and they're standing at each other, looking at each other with their guns pointed, and then they lower their guns because they realize, what's the point? I can't kill this guy. It's not worth it. This guy's just another human being like me. And that really is kind of what war is like. I mean, there's never fully a good or a bad guy. They're just human beings doing what they're told to do. And I think Battlefield 1 really, explained that in good detail, and really, gave a good example of what World War One was like, and how terrible it was for those troopers to go through all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I have relatives who have been in Vietnam War and World War II. In fact, even my great-grandpa, who was a medic in World War II, and he's seen a bunch of bad stuff, and it wound up making him end his life. It was. I mean, I've heard from my own, uncle, how he was in Vietnam War and he escaped death so many times. War is a really bad thing, and I think this game really just kind of put it out there of how bad war can be, but we're all just human beings in the end. So anyway, that was my top 10 best video games list. I will start doing some more reviews eventually. Caleb has recently began to do his Lego Batman movie review. You should check that out. I also did a joint review with him and Alex of the Kong movie. And spoiler alert, it was awesome. So anyway, see you guys around. I will be sure to do some more videos as soon as I can. And that's pretty much all for now. Peace out.